Hey everyone, so in this video we're going to cover making some special selections for recording and re-recording specific places in your sessions. Alright, so off we go. Okay, so first thing we're going to talk about is you might want to make a new recording that's based on the length of a clip in another track. So maybe you want to record along with, say, this chunk of this bass track on a different track, on the Guitar 2 track. So that's really easy to do. We've already got that selection. And then we just record enable the track and start the recording. And you'll notice the recording is following right along with that bass track clip. Make sure that you have link timeline and edit selection on. Otherwise, you may have a timeline selection elsewhere, and that's where the recording will always go. The recording always fits where the timeline is, not where the selection is, unless they're linked in that fashion. So make sure that link timeline and edit selection is on when you do that. Cool, so I just undid that recording. Next thing, we can also make selections by ear, and I actually really love this feature for just getting a start point as well. So first I'm going to do that. So maybe there's a place that I know I want to edit, and I can't remember by using my eyes where it is. If I want to do it by ear, I can play back and then press the down arrow wherever the point where I want to enter is. So like this, so I'm going to play back and then I'm going to press down right around this transition here in that space. Notice my playhead is now there. I pressed the down arrow right there and it came up, and I did it by ear, which is really nice. So I love being able to set my playhead marker, my start point for playback the next time at specific places just by hitting that down arrow. Now the cool thing is you can also make a selection in that way. So maybe I want to select some audio to fix up. So maybe I'm not super happy with the guitar recording here, right here or something. So where I start to hear where I think I can edit, I press down, and then if I press up, I will get a selection from the down point. So I can go playback, and I'm going to press down. And then press up. And now I have a selection right there. Now you might notice that the arrows here changed colors. When it's just a playback selection, if nothing's record enabled, the arrows will be blue. If I then record enable, the arrows turn red, just so you know. Quick little aside there. So I've made this selection, and now I have this nice selection that I can go through and, if I want, just adjust a little bit. And if it's in grid, it will go right to the grid lines. And if it's in slip, I can adjust it by hand, freehand. So maybe I want to go from there to there with that guitar track and fix up that take a little bit. It's a little clip there and stuff. I think I'd like to fix that up a little bit, right? So we can make those selections by pressing down arrow and then up arrow and do it by ear, which is really nice. Your ear should always be the final say. And also, I start playback here, let's say. If I just press up, no down arrow at the beginning, it will make a selection from wherever I started playback. So if I just play back, and then I press up, now I have a selection from wherever I started to that point, which is also really nice. You can also do multiple tries. So maybe you change your mind where it's going to be. If you hit the arrow again, it will reset. So here I go. Here's a down arrow. Oh, I changed my mind, I'm hit down again. And it resets the start point. And down. And now I'm going to press up. And then, oh, you know what, I want it to be a little longer. I'm going to press up again. So you can reset those start and end points anytime you want just by hitting the down or up arrow again. So that's pretty nice as well. Cool, so a couple other cool things you can do. Maybe you need an exact amount of time, or your selection needs to be an exact length, but you need to figure out where the best start and end points of that length are. So you can do a kind of a cool thing up here in the timeline. You can hold down Option and drag either of these arrows, and your selection will stay the same length as you move left and right. which is kind of a nice feature, right? So you can keep an exact selection length. So maybe for a spoken word thing, you have to get exactly, an ad on the radio or something. You needed exactly 10 seconds. Well, you can get a 10-second selection like this and really easy find where the best start and end point for that selection are. So that's pretty cool. Hold down Option or Alt and then drag either of these arrows and your selection length will be preserved. So that's kind of a cool trick. We also can make memory locations for selections. So say that I know that I want to edit like one specific spot, and I even zoomed in on it and made it big, and I'm like, we're about to do all this editing on this. It's like totally ready to go. Everything's selected just the way I want it. And then suddenly we need to do something else. So I definitely want to save all of this stuff, right? I want to save my track height. I want to save my zoom setting from left to right, and I want to save this selection. So now's the time to learn how to do that. What we're going to do is make a new memory location. So to make a memory location, my favorite way to do it is to hit the Enter on the numeric keypad. And that will bring up the new memory location dialog box. But you can also do it with markers. If you have a selection, you can hit plus, and that will also give you a new memory location, which is really nice. Then you can also do this from the memory locations window. So window and then memory locations, which is also, I have a very funnily, there we go. I have no memory location. So it was, I guess that was why it was such a tiny window, but here it is. And then I can add a new memory location here, but that doesn't seem all that useful, does it? And I still get the same dialogue. This is much better for later when you actually have memory locations to look at. Not the best way to make a new one. Much better to hit Enter on the numeric keypad or add a marker with your markers ruler. So I'm going to do, here's my selection still. I'm going to hit Enter. And then let's make a special memory location. So we're going to go need guitar edit. And then it's numbered 1, which is fine. It's my first memory location in the tune. And I want to choose selection. And then I'm also going to click on zoom settings, and I'm also going to click on track heights. Now you have other options too that are all pretty self-explanatory, like your pre and post roll times might be good, which we'll talk about later, and all kinds of other good stuff. So I'm going to hit OK. Now, since it's a selection memory location, it does not show up in the markers. So we can leave this place and I'll show you how to get that guy back. So I'm changing track heights, changing zoom settings. Now I'm going to go to Window and to Memory Locations. And now I have one location in here. Now if I click, I get exactly the view, exactly what I wanted, right? I have exactly the right zoom settings, exactly the right track height, and my selection is right there ready to go for me. So that is super useful and nice. So remember how to do that. Just make your selection, get everything just right, hit Enter. You'll get the dialog box, Enter on the numeric keypad, choose selection, and then any other things that you want, like zoom settings or track heights. Maybe you had 20 tracks hiding. That also might be really useful too, right? So maybe you had 90 tracks in your session and you happen to be working on just guitars and there were only 3 tracks visible. That would preserve that as well, and then you'll get right back to where you want. So pretty awesome. So typically what happens when you make a memory location is you get a dialog box, right? And then ask me to name it. And then I have to click again or hit Enter again in order to get rid of that dialog. If you turn auto naming on, you won't have to do that extra step of closing the dialog. And then what you can do is, say you need to decide where edits need to happen, you can do one pass listening through and then just hit Enter whenever you think you need a marker for an edit. So you can hit play, and I'm going to hit the Enter key whenever I think I need to do an edit. Enter, marker 2, and maybe here. So I hit Enter 3 times, and I've got 3 new markers exactly where I heard things wrong, perhaps, and then I'm set. Now I can go back to those and name them if I want to by double clicking on them. And then I know, okay, something happened here that I need to edit later. And now I've got my list of edits right there as markers, which is glorious. By the way, if you want to get rid of a marker really quickly, you can just click and drag it away. It kind of throws it away. Cool, so that's super useful. Oh, and actually, I want some of those markers back because I also want to try making a selection from a marker. And when would you want to do that? Probably if you wanted to select a big section, like a whole verse or a whole chorus. So maybe this guy was your verse, and this guy was your chorus, and you want to record just that verse, right? So maybe I want to make a selection from the verse to the chorus in order to set the record length for whoever's going to record a pass over that section. Okay, so I can click a marker. That will give me a spot that will move my selection marker to my marker. And then I can hold down Shift and click the next marker, and I'll get a selection from one marker to the next. So that's pretty cool. And you can also get timeline selections that way. Then I can jump to a marker by using that special numeric keypad notation where you do the dot on the keypad, the period, and then the number of the marker, and then dot again. So this verse is number 3. So I can go dot 3 dot. That will get me that spot as a location for my selector tool, right? And then if I hold down Shift and do dot 4 dot for the chorus, that will give me a selection from verse to chorus too. So that's pretty nice if you happen to know all those marker numbers, and usually they're in order. So you want to go from left to right, and that means that would be 2. I'm sure I could add that really easily by going dot 2 dot. And now I just extended this selection from marker 2 to the chorus. You can also do this with the memory locations window. So say I want a selection from verse to chorus. I click verse, I hold down Shift, I click the chorus, I get a selection. Super easy, lots of options, really easy ways to make selections of a specific chunk of your audio that way, from one marker to the next. Okay, that's it. Some cool ways to make selections so that you can punch in and punch out your recordings or set lengths of exactly how long someone's going to record for, right? So know, just in case, maybe you don't know this, but if you make a selection and hit record and link timeline and edit selection is on, you will get a recording selection that's at length too. So anytime you record in Pro Tools with a selection, it's pretty much, as long as that setting is on, it's pretty much going to record exactly the length of what you selected, which is super nice because maybe you just want to record a tiny bit of audio right here and you just select it, hit record, enable the track, and start recording, and it records just that spot. Okay, so let's move on to the next video and talk about how to set so that you can hear a little bit of audio before you're recording, which is called pre-roll, and post-roll we'll talk about a little bit too. Okay, see you in the next one.